So inside number 11, sexually explicit material presented in books, magazines, phone services, toys, and movies often twist and exaggerate the role of sex. Many who are sexually explicit entice to create a craving for their products. Many people's minds are influenced to think of sex with great craving. So we got sexually explicit material presented in books and whatever, magazines, phone services, toys, movies, and internet, and any sort of medium, any sort of communication device that may not have been even introduced or created yet, but any sort of medium, paintings, whatever, can be used to present sexually explicit material or sexual material, etc. So when it's presented, they often twist and exaggerate. The twist is very interesting. You see how you have pasta and you got different types of pasta: flat, twisted, curly, whirly, things been inside of it. Each pasta, the pasta is the same, generally speaking. It's the shape that is different. Spaghetti. And so when you're engaged in eating this pasta, which is twisted, all kinds of shapes and sizes and thicknesses, and even spaghetti has very thin angel hair spaghetti, and thicker, and and then you have Chinese noodles that are different, so each one is different, has their own shape, and how the sauce interacts with it, and how when you eat it, you think of it differently, and also you have to bite it differently. In other words, you get a different experience when you eat spaghetti. Often you slurp it up, as in you suck it up like that. You don't do that to other pasta dishes, So you generally bite it and eat it, and so it's different. It's different how it interacts with you inside your mouth. So in the same way, it's like mental variety, and this titillates the mind, plays with the mind, and plays with the tongue inside the mouth. Same with sex. Sex in different ways. It titillates and plays with the mind. So this is the twist thing, and exaggerate. So these presentations exaggerate the role of sex, yes. And this insight mainly deals with craving, allowing you to see how much craving is a part of it. It's not only exaggerated, but also there is great craving. So often you see, like in an office, a sexual presentation in an office, they're just like hungry, going after each other, ripping each other's clothes off, or as if they're in a desert, haven't drank water for several days, a week, 2 weeks, and then they get water. This is craving. So Yeah, so here I'm going to read something from the explanation regarding the craving. Many people believe the manipulator's visual portrayal of sex because people have no significant alternative view on sex being presented to them. So, you have no idea about sex, so you get most of your ideas on sex from what is presented to you, you know. Their visual portrayal. You can be with your partner. You can be with your partner without the rushing feeling, that we often think is a part of sex. Much of what people feel when they are either thinking about sex or are engaged in sex, whether by themselves or with a partner, is this feeling of being rushed into it, a feeling of almost uncontrollable craving. Much focus is placed on the craving. Therefore, when you are engaged in sexual pleasure, you are often focused on the craving being satisfied, rather than the sex itself. It is almost similar to when you are really hungry and you engorge yourself hurriedly. You engorge yourself hurriedly. It means very fast. You barely taste the food because you wanted to feed the craving. That empty feeling, which is that empty feeling in the stomach and the feeling of hunger. So you get this similar thing with food when you're really hungry and you engorge yourself. You barely taste the food. Often people who engorge themselves, they don't really taste it that much. They taste it, but not too much, not adequately enough. It's not in a moderate way. It's just and it's down it goes. And now, if a person is hungry and takes their time to eat the food, really takes their time and eats the food in a moderate way, bites into the bread and the food very nicely, really enjoyable, without the need of having to go yeah. So being aware of some Buddhists believe very much in being aware in any activity or non-activity that they're engaged in, such as sitting, for example, being, walking, whatever it is. Being very present in the here and the now, experiencing what is happening here and now, right now. Because if you're not here, you're thinking of the future or the past or some subject or this or that, whatever it is, you're not here. You are here, but you're not present here. Your mind is not engaged in the here and the now to see what's really happening, to be aware of reality. And so if you're not aware of the reality of now, you can be so easily fixed. You can be so easily raptured, engaged in, immersed in illusion or thoughts, ideas, this and that, whatever it is, but not reality. So you want to be focused on reality, and this craving, you can get away from it and really enjoy the activity that you're engaged in without having to have the craving. Meaning to have, you can have the craving, but you could go ahead and engage in it in a moderate way, and you really get to taste the food and enjoy it much more. See, when a person engages in just like engorging a lot of food, often what happens is that they finish the food and they say, I didn't really enjoy it much. I didn't taste it that much. Their experience of taste And satisfaction, the mental satisfaction and the taste satisfaction of food is very minimal. It could be maybe 1 minute or less of it, maybe 2 minutes. But if you're really focused on what you're eating, and within the 15 minutes that you're eating, taking the time to really taste, then you actually get a 15 minutes worth of time of taste and satisfaction rather than just 2 minutes where you're just engorging. So you barely tasted the food because you wanted to feed the craving. Yeah. It is good to eat food, whether one has the craving or not, in a quiet and calm manner, meaning actually taking the time to enjoy and be conscious of every bite, taste fully, and chew. The same is true with sex. Here, and the explanation, I'll also say, the oddity and rareness of the sexual situations that are presented etch a unique impression on the mind. You see, the mind is excellent at remembering odd and unique things. Many people do not know that this is one of the reasons that they cannot seem to stop thinking of the sexually explicit situations that are presented to them. So this often happens with people who say, "Oh, I don't know why I can't stop thinking about this," and they think that they're thinking of it. But the mind, the way it works, one of its functions is that it just things that stand out are more memorable. It's just the way things are. It makes a bigger impression. Again, the oddity and rareness. This is the qualities: oddity, rareness of the sexual situations. Because it's so rare and odd that are presented. The oddity and rareness of these sexual situations etch a unique impression on the mind. Etch is etch is if you have this, it's an etching, you know. So it definitely etches, makes an imprint on the mind, you know, makes an imprint, memorable imprint, because it's so unique and odd. And if you think to your life about, excuse me, about various episodes in your life, you will remember the things that are very odd, strange. You don't remember the regular everyday things. You can't distinguish one day from the other if you're doing the same thing, you know. So, but generally speaking, so you'll remember in your past things, activities, or events that happened, or places and people you saw that were unique, very strange, odd, different, you know, unique interactions. So you remember that. It's memorable. It's the way things are. And so same with sex. Sexual presentations that are presented to you and they're so odd and rare, well, you can't stop thinking about them because they're so strange and odd. It's just memorable, that's all. So no need to be panicked about it and wonder, oh, why am I thinking of that? You know, it's true, sometimes people think of some gross or sexual episodes that they don't want to engage in. They don't want to. They don't find it pleasurable. They don't find it. They don't want to engage in that. But it comes up to their mind once they've seen it once or they've heard it. They may think about it and they wonder, why am I thinking of that? And they might think, oh, maybe I should get into that because I'm thinking of it. Why am I thinking of it? Am I this type of person that thinks of such things? No, it's just that it's memorable, it's unique, it's odd, and you remember it. Once you understand this, you're more at ease about it. Doesn't bug the hell out of you. It's like seeing a pink elephant in a tutu, or an elephant in a tutu. It's a hard image to get out of your mind. The audience, which is the public, might follow the examples that are outlined for them. So the audience, which is the public, might follow the examples that are outlined for them. People might not realize that a lot of the sexual materials presented are staged. Many of the sexual scenes are not pleasurable, but many let the actors and actresses know to try to smile and show that they are enjoying themselves immensely. The public might follow along and with what is presented, especially when the public experiences pleasure from the presentations and the activities contained therein, even though the pleasure is largely mental. Yeah, so when a person is watching this stuff and they are self-pleasuring themselves, or they are intrigued and they're getting some kind of sexual arousal from this, and or mental intrigue, and something starts to occur within their body, they may start to engage and see this as a pleasurable activity. They might follow along and with what is presented, believing it to some degree. Now here's the last part, which was, even though the pleasure is largely mental. So the appearance of mental pleasures. So it's a mental pleasure in combination with physical pleasures. There's mental pleasure and physical pleasure, both. Might give the impression to the person who is experiencing them both that it is the sexual pleasure which is very fantastic. Mental pleasure is occurring. Something intriguing is presented, something powerfully intriguing, something different, contrasting is introduced, and then physical pleasure is there as well, of what the person is feeling. So this mistaken understanding of pleasure. So the person might mistakenly think that, no, the whole pleasure is just sexual, nothing mental. No, it's also sexual. This mistaken understanding of pleasure incorrectly confirms to the public that the sexual pleasure presented is valid and phenomenal. Powerful sexual pleasure. They're not aware that, hey, there's a mental aspect, and that mental aspect is the one that is giving power to the presentation, including the lies and exaggerations. Anyway, so that's something significant is true about the sexual presentations. Yes, significant because the sexual feelings experienced by the public are great, by themselves as well. It is true in terms of the feelings that they're feeling. Yeah, it's significant. It is true that sex is pleasurable, and knowing this, the sex manipulators capitalize on this pleasure. So yeah, sure, sex is pleasurable, but they're exaggerating. They're tricking the mind using a series of tricks. They're lying. Now, it's interesting, they don't lie by words. They may lie visually, but not by words, because they're not allowed to lie by words, you see. They'll be taken to court. So what happens is that in the back of, if you take one of these videos and look in the back, I saw one, in a very small print you'll see somewhere, one of them I saw, it said something to the effect that sexual interactions are depicted here are not representative of sexual interactions in real life, and relationships, which is quite complex. Yes. Something like that. Oh God, I gotta get the quote and read it to you. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, in the same insight, I say, data moves from outside through the senses, like eyes, ears, and finally to the mind. Imagination and thoughts also introduce data to the mind. One who controls data, information. One who controls data, thoughts and imagination, has tremendous influence in control of the mind and ultimately in controlling the person. There are those who seek to capture the mind's attention, to capture the mind and the person, to make use of the person as a slave.